All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about a particular video game that we haven't really had a chance to speak about recently. Although when the leaks first happened with Marvel's Wolverine, we spoke about it initially because this particular person, Mary Kenny, who is the narrative director for this game, we have spoken about her in the past because she is not exactly one of the most sane people in the world, if you catch my drift. So we have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Marvel's Wolverine Associate Narrative Director Mary Kenny says that every lever must be pulled in order to push LGBTQ disordered agenda.
Excuse me, are y'all with the cult?
We're not a cult. We're an organization that promotes love and...
Yeah, this is it.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're thinking in the back of your mind, when it comes to a Wolverine game, the first thing in your mind is how inclusive it should be, how much LGBTQ propaganda should be in the game. I'm sure that's the first thing that comes to everybody's mind when they want to play a Wolverine game. It definitely has nothing to do with wanting to play Wolverine himself or be a badass or the good combat or whatever the case would be. No. We're focused on LGBTQ stuff. That's the most important thing for a Wolverine game. So let's get into the article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. You know, it's always in the eyes. Like, I really don't know how to put it other than it's always in the eyes, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever need to understand what you're dealing with, just look into the eyes of people. It will tell you everything you need to know. It says Associate Narrative Director at Insomniac Games, who is working on the upcoming Marvel Wolverine game, Mary Kenny, declared that every lever must be pulled in order to push a disordered LGBTQ+ agenda. Now, the thing about Insomniac Games is that I can't take Insomniac Games virtue signaling seriously, and I don't think anybody in the LGBTQ activist community should take their virtue signaling seriously either, because you are realizing that this company is willing to sell you down a pipeline really quickly if it gives them more money from other countries that don't support your social causes. They've been willing to remove all of the LGBTQ propaganda that they put in the games as long as they can release these games in places like the Middle East. You need to realize that. I mean, at some point, I want to speak to an activist in that particular community and ask them if they are happy with this level of representation and how superficial it is with the fact that they are willing to give you up at a dime, like quickly. The moment they see that they can make a lot more money by not pushing your agenda, they're willing to give it up and remove it from the game as long as they can release that game elsewhere. It's hilarious to me, but most of these people don't really care because they're as superficial as the representation they claim to enjoy so much. It says, speaking with DualShockers about a recent GLAAD report bemoaning the lack of LGBTQ+ characters in video games, Kenny described the report as heartbreaking. She also stated that GLAAD report tells us something key. Games are a way for LGBTQ people to socialize, but it also tells us something heartbreaking, that LGBTQ gamers don't feel that developers are thinking of them when they design games. No, developers are thinking of gamers when they design games. That's the thing. Developers are thinking of gamers as a whole. They're not thinking of your social causes. They're not thinking of your sexuality. They're not thinking of who you're sleeping with right now. They're thinking about gamers. That's what they should be thinking about. They're thinking, how can this game be entertaining, fun, and maybe even slightly addictive to the gamer so that we can have a successful game? What can we do to make that happen? It's definitely not who you're sleeping with in the bedroom, and it's definitely not your activism. It is all about gamers, and it should be for gamers, since we are the customers at the end of the day. Like, who's gonna buy these games, right? You mean to tell me that if someone wasn't gonna buy Wolverine, that the deciding factor in buying Wolverine was going to be the LGBTQ representation? No, I highly doubt that. If anything, the people who were going to buy Wolverine, the deciding factor whether or not they choose not to is probably going to be the ridiculous propaganda that they're putting in the game if they choose to. It says Kenny added that there are so many LGBTQ developers, and we want what players want, to design experiences that tell the player we're here, we're important, and we belong. In order to obtain this, she declared, we need to pull every lever we have: characters, community support, mechanics, and to make it so. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a little worried for Wolverine. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm very worried. Considering what happened with Spider-Man, I honestly should not be surprised, right? Spider-Man was a LGBTQ propaganda haven. Honestly, it was just a leftist propaganda haven because they had the whole BLM stuff, obviously with Miles Morales and whatnot. They had the mural. They had all this. I'm surprised they weren't like anti-cop to begin with. Although there was very few cop NPCs, if any at all, to my knowledge. I didn't play Spider-Man 2 because I just refused after I saw what they were doing and I decided not to buy it. But from what I understand, there isn't that many cop NPCs in the game. On top of that, obviously the LGBTQ flags everywhere, basically worshiping, you know, sexuality and all that stuff. They rather have more LGBTQ flags than the American flag, which goes to show where we stand currently in this country. It says this is the opposite of what video game developers should be doing. Instead of attempting to normalize and lead people to objectively disordered lifestyles, they should be promoting the common good. The common good is defined in the, oh, here we go with the religious shit. Okay, I don't really care about that. Promoting an LGBTQ agenda of video games is against the common good. That I agree with. Forget all the religion stuff. We don't need to see all this shit. Who wrote this, Trent? We don't need to see this shit, man. Seriously, I appreciate your work, John F. Trent, but that's when you lose people. Honestly, at the end of the day, listen, I understand people are going to have their own opinions, but just like I don't want LGBTQ nonsense being pushed in the game, I also don't need like nonstop preaching being pushed in the game either, right? Like I just want people to make a video game that is going to be entertaining, slightly addictive perhaps, and give me a good product. Give me something that I'm going to enjoy, something that I can praise to the highest moon to people and recommend to other gamers. Like that's how gamers work, right? We get a product that is going to allow us to essentially promote it from our own words of mouth. And that's really what these developers should be going for. People like Mary Kenny, they have the complete opposite notion. They think that the more they virtue signal, the more people are going to support their product, support their cause, and give them good word of mouth. And that's not how this works. That's not how any of this has worked. We know that virtue signaling to this to the max like this is going to be counterproductive. And I'm sure that the CEOs and the heads up over at Insomniac Games, the people who probably aren't fully drinking the Kool-Aid, they themselves know that this is going to hurt the game sales. But at the end of the day, they're going to push it regardless because they are funded. They don't care, right? Like the CEOs, the executives, they got all the money in the world. They're millionaires already. It doesn't matter what happens with the company. It doesn't matter what happens with the game. Most of these people are millionaires who have investments that are going to carry them through the rest of their lives, and they're only working because they enjoy the position and they enjoy the power and the prominence that it brings them. They don't care about anything else. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I would not be surprised if Wolverine goes ultra gay in this game. I don't really know how they're going to do it. I really don't know how they would go about it aside from what they did in Spider-Man, which is just make the entire world around you gay, not necessarily the character being gay, right? Like nobody's saying Wolverine's going to be gay, but I would imagine they're going to make the whole world around him gay. So they'll show a whole bunch of NPCs that are basically banging in the streets. They'll probably have a pride parade here and there. They'll definitely have a million LGBTQ flags all over the city, guaranteed. That's probably what they're going to do, I would imagine. That's their level of representation that they're willing to go through, because it's not the main character that's gay. No. It's the world around you. The planet is gay. That's their entire idea. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Wolverine game, but I got to be honest with you guys, any excitement that I had for this game died a long time ago, and now just seeing this reiteration of where her mindset is at just further proves that I have zero interest checking this game out. I'll wait to see what other people say who I trust in regards to you know, games and movies and whatnot, but I really don't see how this can be helping the game in any way. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.